All right, guys, welcome back to the Shack. And today's video is going to be a little quick how-to video about something that seems to be coming up more and more regular lately. And that is, I have a machine that either does not or I prefer not to run with Lightburn, but I want to use the comma separated value part of the merge variable text function that Lightburn has. More specifically, like the xTool machines, a lot of the new xTool machines that are out will not work with Lightburn natively. It's just not going to happen. Some of the older ones you can kind of make it work, but it's clunky. So if you're like me, I prefer to use xTool Studio to run those machines. And just like even though my Aliencell, which is the machine we're going to use today, with the Aliencell, it will run with Lightburn, but I keep getting the question of how to import this stuff. So I decided to go ahead today because I do prefer to run the Aliencell machine using their software instead of Lightburn, but I still like designing in Lightburn. So today's video is going to show you how to design a comma separated value import file, which basically, if you're not familiar, is if you're doing name tags, which is what we're doing today, and you have a list of 60 names that need to be on said name tags, this enables you to create a blank, replicate it using the grid array, and pull that information automatically from a spreadsheet and put it in the design without having to type them in there. Two things: it speeds up your workflow and it reduces the possibility of you misspelling or fat fingering a key and messing up a name because you're using the text that was sent to you by the customer. Plus, if you retain a copy of that text, if there are any errors, you can prove that you didn't do it. So that's what we're going to go do today. Is I'm going to make these name tags real quick and show you the process that I use to enable this function. So let's get started. All right, so down here in Lightburn, I'm going to go over and I'm going to open up the name tag design that I have. Of course, I created it in the Lightburn configuration file for the X1. And the reason I did is so that the work area is shown. It just makes it easier to design the file and make sure it's not too big. This was two different variations. This was the way the file was sent to me designed. This is after some modifications because these little lines here were so thin that you couldn't really see them. So I had to go in and kind of coarse those up a little bit. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to delete that one because I'm not going to be using it. It was, like I said, it was a trial. I printed those two to determine which one, showed up better in the design. And so I'm going to place this one down here in the corner of the work area. And the reason I'm doing that is we're going to do a grid array here shortly and take this and make multiples. So the first thing that I want to do is, like right here, you can see the text is set. This is a text box, but it is set to normal. So I'm going to go over here to inside this little box. And if you don't have this variable text box showing up on your screen, you're going to need to go over here to Window and look for it here and make sure it's checked. But once you go into here, the CSV file, and I'll show you how to make one of those if you want to stick around toward the end. I'll show you how to convert an Excel spreadsheet over to the CSV, which is simple, and how to set it up to do this and make your life simpler. So this is a comma separated file that I took a spreadsheet that I was sent and created. I'm going to open that. And so now it tells me that there's 60 entries in this file. So I know I need to make at least 60 of these things. And the way that you're going to do that now is on the text. I'm going to take the text. I'm going to go over here to where it says Merge CSV. And I'm going to click Merge CSV. And basically that is going to let Lightburn know that this is basically a shortcut to the data that is entered into the spreadsheet. And so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to type a % and 0, which tells it pull from the sheet line 0. And in computers, 0 is always first, not last. It's not 1 through 0, it's 0 through 9. So the first line is going to be 0. So if I hit test right here, what it's doing is it's referencing that spreadsheet and it's going, hey, give me the information that is in line 0, and it's taking that information and populating it in this box that I've created. So now every time I create another one, if I do it appropriately, if I create 60 of these boxes like this, I should have all 60 name tags printed without having to go through the trouble of setting everything up. So the one thing I do want to make sure of before I get too carried away here, because I'll make sure I didn't move anything, is I want to, and I don't know why it's gotten so tricky to click on the second line lately. All right, so I'm gonna take those two right there, and I want to make sure that it's centered, and it was a little off. So I want that to be centered in my design, because whatever design format is here, it's fixing to be everywhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna group this guy right here completely, and then we're gonna come over and select it, and I'm gonna go over to the grid array, and I'm gonna tell it to create an array. The easiest way to do these is give yourself a little padding right here. So we're gonna say 3 on the X and 3 on the Y. That's literally just enough padding between them so that, you know, that little bit of blowback that you get, or char or whatever, is it not going to get hit by both cuts. And then another thing that you need to make sure is that you have auto increment variable text. You can do it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever you want to do, but this situation calls for us to do it by 1. Now I'm going to turn off group results, because I'm going to probably create more than the 60 needed, and I'm going to want to delete some of them after I get done. And also I can turn off select results. Really don't care about that. So now the way to do it is, if I'm needing 60, because it tells me I have 60 over here, I can do a 6 by 10, I can do a 8 by 8, I can do a, you know, however you want to get to it, but you're going to need to do 60 of them. So that's going to give me 8 wide and 8 high, which gives you 72. So you can kind of keep up with your count here, and you can adjust this to fit your material or whatever you need to do to make that work. And so however you end up wanting to do them, that's how you set it up. So once it gets the appropriate number, I've got 63 created. I technically only need 60. I'm just going to hit OK. So now I could go in here and delete some of these if I need. And once you do this, you can go over and hit the test button, and that's going to show you exactly how your design is going to look. I strongly recommend, before hitting the burn button, check this, because your name tags, the text has to accommodate the longest name that you have. So if we had somebody's name that was 16 digits, that's going to affect every name tag if you want to keep uniformity in the font. So there are times that I've had to, you know, make a exception for one name tag to keep from making the whole batch look goofy. But you'll see some of these longer names take up more room. And so at this font size, it is possible that I could push a name so far out that it would run off of my name tag. So you got to watch for that. It's kind of bad when you realize it after you've burned them all. So when you hit test, it shows you which ones are going to be used, which ones are not. You let go, and they all go revert back to this little set here. Now, the trick to, if you want to use this tool, but you want to take it over to xTool or to Aliencell software and do it there, Lightburn built you in this little button right here. It's called Bake. And so what this does is, I'm going to save now, all right, the name tags. I'm saving the file now. That way, worst case scenario, this is where I can come back to. So once that's saved, I'm going to hit the Bake button. What the Bake button does is it converts that variable text basically into an object. So now it shows up constantly. Well, all I got to do now is Control A or whatever, select all of it, File, and export it just like you would any other file, and export it as, say, an SVG. And so I'm going to go back to that folder, because I like foldering things up. So I'm going to go back over here into, and I'm going to put name tags, and I'm going to name it ready. That way, when I go down through there, I know that's the name tags, and those are ready to use over in Aliencell. Because I've got to exit out of here, and I'm going to discard, because remember, I saved before I baked everything in. So if I need to go back and make changes, I don't have to worry about it being baked, because you want to leave that to where you can manipulate it if you need to. So I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna open up the Aliencell software, and we're gonna bring the file in over there. All right, guys, so we're over in Aliencell software, and I'm gonna hit the new project button. We will be processing on the honeycomb panel. So I'm gonna change that up. The material, it's not basswood, but you know, we're gonna select the basswood. I'm gonna say it's 5mm basswood. Just for the preview sake, it'll be the right color. Also, we're going to go over here. I'm going to go to File, Import, and then I'm going to select that name tags ready file that I created earlier. Hit Open. You'll see that it brought everything in, but when you click off of it, it's showing everything in black, but the red line is there. This is something hinky with the software, but if you come over here and just select the red and go ahead and assign it a cut setting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set, I don't know why these keep defaulting to like nothing, but I'm going to go ahead and reset those. I've got the focus lowering 2.35mm on the cut. So I've got that set correctly. Once you do that, now they stay red. So I don't know what's up with that, but that works. So over on the black layer, which is going to be all the text and everything, it is seeing this as an image rather than as a, like it's saying it's a vector, but it's setting it up kind of like an image. But there's the settings, and if you look up here, this is for basswood, so it's going at 400 speed, 14 watts. I'm going to go ahead and crank this up to at least 30. I think 30 would give me a good, nice look on this, because this is the pre-finished material, and it's gonna neat well. Let's just go ahead and crank it all the way. So we got all that set up, and so it looks like we're good on our settings. I do have a piece of material in there, so I'm going to take a photo. I'm pretty confident that not all of these are going to fit on that material, so there will be some trimming to be done. Yes, and I believe I was correct, because I want to put them about right there. Cameras are not 100% accurate. This one's pretty accurate, but we're going to go and ungroup these, because it groups them when it brings them in. And I'm just going to take and slice these guys here. I'm going to set them up here out of the work area, and I'm going to do the same thing over here on this side. And then I'll get another piece of material once we run this set here. So now, just to make sure everything's going to do as the way I want it to, I'm going to hit this little preview button here. And you can see that, yeah, it's going to engrave the text, and the cuts are going to cut and all that good stuff. So, yeah, we should be good to go. The process here is going to send it over to the machine, and all we got to do now is hit the button, and we'll see how this goes. The machine is going to do its own zeroing and setting the focus, and then we'll be able to watch it here once it gets through with that. So that's another cool thing about this machine, and that's one reason why I like running it with their software, is so if I'm over here doing something else, I can sit here and watch the camera and keep an eye on it without having to stand over top of it. I can see this from across the room. So in the event that there was a fire or something, you know, you'd be able to see it. So it's going to take a little while to do these, but while that runs, I guess I could show you guys how to take an Excel spreadsheet, as promised, and swap it over to a CSV. It's pretty simple, but if you're not familiar with Excel, it might be something you've never learned. So let's put this up on the other screen, and I will show you how to do that real quick while this runs. All right, so here we are. I'm going to open up the spreadsheet, and of course it opened on the other screen. I'm going to bring that down, enable editing, because we got to enable it. All right, so this is the way it was sent to me, but the only thing I need is the text that I need to choose from for my tags. So I'm going to delete this header, as well as this first box here that basically just tells you it's a name. I'm going to delete those. I don't need those. I also do not need the list of names. All I need is what they want printed on the name tags. And you'll see here there is 61 according to this. But remember, this starts at 1 and not 0. So you're always going to have one less in Lightburn than what it tells you you have in Excel, because Excel actually starts at 1 and goes to 61, whereas in Lightburn it starts at 0 and goes to 60. So don't let that confuse you. It's gotten me before. So once you do that, it's simple. Really, file, save as. You can do save as, or you can do export. We'll do export. All right, we'll do file, export, and then I'm going to go change file type. Right here, you'll see CSV, comma, delimited. This is what you use for Lightburn. You can use other file types, but this is the one that I use coming from Excel. Save as, and then literally all you do is pick your location and hit save. And then it's going to tell you you're going to lose some features doing it that way, but that's absolutely fine. You don't care. But I would recommend keeping both the Excel spreadsheet and the CSV. So it's that simple. You just want to make sure that you have nothing but, like, I'll go over here now and we'll open up the CSV and I'll let you look at that. So you got, like, right here, this is comma separated and this is the spreadsheet version. So we'll open up the comma separated, and it's literally, if you were creating this for yourself, just open up Excel and box A1, start putting them in and just go straight down. That's all you got to do. And then save it. Like I said, you can also do file, save as, browse, and you can change it here to comma separated. So there's several ways you can do it, but that's, like I said, that's the way I do it. You can use export or save as, but easy peasy. All right, so a few minutes later, and we got them engraved. This is some pre-finished ply, but I do have a little bit of staining that I got to go over there and get off. See, over on my table back there, I've got the bulk of them set up. I got a little box that I can put them in. But with this material, even though you got that little bit of stuff, I can hit this with some rubbing alcohol, and it typically will just wipe right off of the engrave. And so I got to go through and wipe these guys down. Once I wipe them down, what I'll do is I'll take them out and clear coat over the top of the engrave also. This has just helped seal it, and also gives it a little bit more pop once I get done. But I got to clean them thoroughly first, and then once they pass the clean inspection, then they get clear coated on the front. They'll dry, and if the backs are in too bad a shape, there's going to be a magnet that goes on here for, you know, a name tag, of course. But if the backs are in too bad a shape, I'll hit them with a little sandpaper before taking them out and spraying the backs, and then putting the magnets on there. So the front gets done first because that's the most critical part. Then I'll touch up the backs if needed and take them out and spray them. And then once they've done both of the sprays, front and back, then they get the magnet. So there you go. Well, I got work to do. So see ya. And I hope the video helped you out. If it did, be sure to subscribe, because there's always little nuggets of information like this coming out, and you don't want to miss it. So till next time, be safe. Have a good day.